Que linda manhã.
Midway through Grand Tour, I had no idea it was midway through, by the way. I thought it was nearly over. Anyway, I wondered what it was reminding me of. An Englishman stranded in deepest Myanmar, Burma as it was in 1917, waits for the arrival of his fiancée. He loses his nerve and flees for parts unknown. If you're a fan of the works of English Old Master Somerset Maugham, the setting might be familiar. Indeed, I believe eccentric Portuguese director Miguel Gomes dipped into a couple of Maugham's short stories before going his own way. But it certainly explains why the two leads are English, despite being played in Portuguese.
Faço ideia do que será feito na mão. Veio de Londres para se casar comigo.
But even Portuguese speakers will find themselves on the back foot in Grand Tour, a film that's told in not one but 6 different Asian languages. No sooner has Edward Abbott left Rangoon for Bangkok, followed by Singapore, Saigon and the rest, when yet another narrator steps up to help. Thank heavens for subtitles, you might say.
แต่เธอไม่ท้อใจมอลลี่ควานหาทั่วบางกอกเป็นเวลา2 วัน 2 คืน
Ela tem andado a seguir, intuindo o meu percurso.
Or maybe not, because often the subtitled narrative seems to be telling a quite different story from what we're seeing on the screen. Lead character Edward vanishes for stretches of the film while the cameraman wanders through the jungle looking at stuff, including pandas for people who haven't seen those curious creatures in the wild before. Either on or off screen, Grand Tour is about Edward trying to escape his intended, Molly Singleton. But every time he arrives somewhere new, there's a good chance he'll be met by a telegram from Molly, who seems both persistent and blessed with clairvoyance. How does she do it, wonders Edward?
Vous voulez envoyer un télégramme à tous les hôtels de Saigon?
Sim.
A mulher mais teimosa do mundo.
And if we're equally curious, we're in luck, because midway through the film, the moment you may remember when I was starting to wish it really was one of Somerset Maugham's gripping short stories, Grand Tour takes a wild shift back in time and place. Back, in fact, to when Molly herself gets off the boat at Rangoon.
Miss Singleton, conte-nos o que veio aqui fazer o Grand Tour, Rangoon, Singapura.
Vim para me casar. O meu noivo é funcionário em Mandalay, mas ele fugiu.
As Molly explains to her fellow passengers, the whole thing is really a bit of a game. Hence the amused raspberry there, a noise she makes whenever something amuses her. Now, I have to say I wasn't quite as taken by it as director Miguel Gomes, who found it endearingly English.
Vous êtes très belle. Mrs. Sanders vous aime beaucoup.
Nhoque, estou noiva de outro homem. Hei de casá-lo, a bem ou mal.
Different strokes, I suppose, or, as they say in places like Saigon, chacun a son goût. Yes, the narrative baton may have been passed to a Vietnamese speaker, but most of the people Molly meets there tend to talk in French. Still, no time to waste. She's back on the hunt for the elusive Edward.
Tinha andado a fugir dela como covarde.
Tudo correrá bem, se Deus quiser.
Now, 2 things may strike you watching Grand Tour. First, while we're told that the action takes place around 1917, we're not visually wedded to that period. Plenty of the action seems to take place in relatively modern times. For instance, I don't remember Maugham's characters tootling around Saigon on motor scooters.
Abandonou-me no cais e embarcou para Singapura. Vou atrás dele. A ver se o agarro pelo esganete.
There's also a tendency to slip in and out of colour when the mood suits, particularly when we, but Possibly not Edward or Molly. Visit an indigenous puppet show. Precise location unclear. Not one for the over-literal is what I'm saying. More for those who take their cue from the title. It really is an old-fashioned grand tour of the sort that Victorian and Edwardian English aristocrats used to go in for.
Abandona-se ao mundo, Mr. Abbott. Verá como ele é generoso consigo.
Does the girl get the boy? It's not really that sort of film. Do we find out what happens to either Molly or Edward? Well, again, you might be asking the wrong question. Do you get a quirky and beautiful travelogue to scratch your head at? Well, I can answer that one. Grand Tour won Best Director at Cannes last year purely on the strength of how it looked. And for some, that's clearly enough.
他坐船去上游了，前台如此回答，还补充说茉莉是没办法追上的。茉莉一听就炸了，没什么是不可能的，这位先生。